Jordan Peterson Wrecked Compilation 2018. Cleaning you room debunked. Lobsters boiled alive. So this video will not really be about Jordan Peterson as a person, because let's be honest, since when is that the kind of content that I do? It's more about a phenomenon that I see surrounding him now that he's one of the most successful public intellectuals in the Anglosphere. Whether you agree with him or not, he definitely is that. And some people are just as interested in canonizing him as a modern prophet as others are in painting him as a bumbling idiot who doesn't know jack about shit. Both of these groups exhibit levels of Dunning-Kruger that should by all means be warping the space-time continuum, but for the sake of this video we will be focusing on the ones who worship him, because that more closely relates to what I want to talk about today. Many people seem to be under the impression that most of what Jordan Peterson does is bash the postmodernists and annihilate the Marxists, and he certainly does do both of those things. But his primary job, as it has turned out, is to be a sort of life coach for young people. You can tell when he talks about this in interviews that this is the aspect of his newfound success that he cares about the most deeply, right? Peterson is a very emotionally driven person, and nah am Wasser gebaut, as we say in Germany. And when he talks about all these young men coming to his lectures starved of meaning, as he puts it, that's when the tears come out. Every single time he's on the brink of crying when he talks about this. So that's how you know that this really affects him emotionally. He has identified a problem caused by the way that large swathes of the millennial generation were brought up. And as someone who makes quite a lot of videos about the millennial generation, I can only agree with his assessment. We were never given much responsibility, right? We were always expected to perform, and it was our fault when we failed, unless of course sometimes it was the fault of someone else, because let's be honest, we were just cogs in the machine of our parents' devising. I have a video where I go into detail about why that is and what that relates to. I'll link it at the end. So when we were then pushed out into the world, we found that it was a world that was in the middle of a huge crisis. And we had never had the need to take care of ourselves, and we had never had the need to find ourselves as people, to find our goals, because we were too busy. We didn't have the freedom to actually follow our own internal passions. And then suddenly, the very people who ruined this world in the first place were the ones blaming us for everything that was wrong with it, in a classic case of juvenoia. And that is the only relationship that the vast majority of millennials have had with responsibility. And before you now go into the comment section and start typing, "Oh, but my own personal experience was different from this, therefore you are incorrect," fuck off and go eat your pudding elsewhere, you human-shaped waste of space. There's a whole other dimension of responsibility that we never even came into contact with, and that is exactly what Jordan Peterson is peddling. Being responsible for something doesn't just mean that you will have to eat shit when someone else eventually fucks it up. It also means that you have a place somewhere, and you have a purpose in that place, and that purpose is yours and yours alone. And the people around you understand and respect this. I have no doubt that a lot of people thrive when they are given responsibility, because it tells them you are worth something and we can trust you to do this properly. And if you're a young person who is aimless and lost in the world, there are few better reasons to get out of bed in the morning. Having responsibility means that you have to take charge. You are in control of the situation you are in. And that is exactly the power that Jordan Peterson teaches. You know, there's many means of achieving this, be it self-authoring or just cleaning your room. Not because that will make the environment sterile and livable, but because it will place you in charge of it. Baby steps, innit? And this is a psychology professor with decades of experience teaching and running a practice, right? He knows what he's talking about when he devises these strategies, and they do verifiably work for a lot of people. But here's the thing, they are not the right approach for everyone. And I find myself irritated at the notion that a lot of people seem to think that they are. I'm somewhat sure that Jordan Peterson understands that his path to meaning and success simply won't work for some people, but it seems that certainly a lot of his followers don't seem to get that. Also, they often don't seem to understand what the strategies are about. A lot of them, I would bet, are people who are high in orderliness, who require a clean and orderly environment to function properly. And I think many of them also are not aware of this. So because many of them suddenly find their personal preferences validated by science, clean your room is no longer a means of taking charge of your environment, but a box you have to tick on the road to success. And if you don't do it, then obviously you're doing something wrong and you should sort yourself out, bucko. I know what I'm talking about. Jordan Peterson said this. But what if I live in a dirty environment of my own creation? What if that is the way that my mind has structured my surroundings? What if that is the way that I exert control over my room? Personally, when I seriously contemplate cleaning the disgusting pigsty that I inhabit, all energy for that day leaves me, and all of the work that I wanted to do that I'd put on my to-do list probably will not get done. If I wake up with the knowledge that I will not be cleaning my room today, usually that is when I am immensely productive. If you then say clean your room anyway, because that is what you are supposed to do, the veneer of this is best for you is dropped, and the reality of this is how I want you to live is revealed. The reason Jordan Peterson tells people to clean their room is that it is the first step to being able to find what they want to do. I have already found what I want to do. I do what I want to do. Things that work for me may not work for others. When it rains outside, I get happy because I love rain. For the majority of people, that doesn't work. Many of them even get sad. And I would never have the audacity to tell them that that's somehow wrong, because it isn't. They're just different people. There's a proverb I like. There are many ways to climb a mountain. And I feel like a lot of folks are so busy having their own personal worldview validated that they do not understand that what works for them may not necessarily work for other people. None of this is anti-Jordan Peterson, by the way, right? I have immense respect for the man, and I do think that trying to give young people meaning when they have none is a very noble goal. Some of the things he says I find laughable. Other things I find highly intriguing, and there isn't a single person on this entire planet about whom I think differently. It's the JBP fanboys that irritate me. The people who think that if you take charge of your life, you can control every single aspect of it. Which isn't true. Some things will just be forever out of your control, and they will have a huge impact on your living situation. These people who have turned a legitimate intellectual with a lot of smart things to say into a sort of guru deity, you know? This could be taken out of context and used against Dr. Peterson crowd. Those people, the ones that seem to lack the basic brain power to even understand the most basic concepts that their magic idol is teaching. Everyone likes to have their view of the world affirmed to be the ultimate truth by Science TM, and who better to do that than big-brained intellectuals with smart words? But there is more than one legitimate view of the world, and more than one path you can take through life. If you find one that works for you, great! Tell me about it. Just don't assume that it'll work for me as well. Take charge of your own life, not mine. In that spirit, thank you very much for watching. I will be in Cologne over this extended weekend, visiting some old friends in a long overdue thing. I will can a video and upload it over the weekend. And also, there will not be a Friday, Monday, and probably also Wednesday Twitch stream. If you don't know the drill, when I am not here at home, I am not connected to the internet. I mean, I do have internet access, I'm not on social media, I'm not on YouTube, I'm not on Discord, I'm not on anything. The only people who can reach me are people who have my phone number, which, you know, politique man, if something happens to my YouTube channel, send me a WhatsApp so I know. This is usually a time where I go on a little bit of an internet diet, and it usually makes me come back feeling very refreshed. Well, and that's pretty much all I needed to say. You know, see you around, cunts.
So we bailed on that reality and we came to this one, because in this one the world wasn't destroyed, and in this one we were dead. So we came here and we buried ourselves and we took their place. And every morning, Summer, I eat breakfast 20 yards away from my own